Okay, let's talk a little bit more about linear regression. Um, you're going to need to open the college student data set, and we're going to be doing a linear regression identifying current GPA as our dependent variable. And so we want to try to identify some independent variables that help us predict the student's current GPA. So imagine yourself being a policymaker or some kind of administrator on the college level, and you're trying to develop some policies about admissions or programming, and you need to make some funding decisions about which programs to support, which programs to kill, so to speak. And one of the ways that you could do this is you could do a linear regression. So you're going to look at, okay, so what are we trying to improve? We want to improve current GPA. So you know, what variables are available to us that will help us predict current GPA? Now, with linear regression and with um, correlation, we want to use scale variables, generally speaking. Now, there's a type of regression called logistic regression where you can use categorical or nominal variables, but we're not going to do that this semester. All right, and so let's take a look at some of our variables. This is our independent variable. We want to predict current GPA. Let's look at, we have hours per week spent working. Maybe the more you work, the lower your GPA. We want to discourage students from working. Perhaps we develop some policy, hours of study per week. Perhaps we invest some money in some kind of campaign to encourage studying. We would think that the more you study, the higher your GPA. Um, Looking at scale variables, amount of TV watched per week. The more you watch TV, perhaps your GPA is lower. Uh, and we wouldn't imagine that student height and same-sex parents' height would have anything to do with current GPA. And so let's do a correlation. Let's do a correlation, and let's throw all of these variables in there. You see, I'm doing all the scale variables. Okay, and let's look at our relationships here. Okay, we just did a correlation table with all the variables. So let's start with our dependent variable, student's current GPA. Now, is there a significant relationship between student's current GPA and student height in inches? No. We wouldn't expect that there would be. I mean, height and GPA. Um, Same-sex parents' height. Of course, there's no. It doesn't make sense to think of a relationship between same-sex parents' height and student GPA. Okay, not significant, not less than 0.05. Amount of TV hours watched per week. Now, it's not significant, but it's getting there, and we can see it's a negative relationship. All right, but it's not significant. All right, but we see it is a negative relationship, so that's interesting. Hours of study per week, not significant. Hours per week spent working is significant. All right, and not only that, it's a positive relationship. That's interesting. You might not anticipate that. And so, out of all of these variables, the only two that really seem to, well, we know hours per week spent working has a significant relationship, and our amount of TV watched per week is not significant, but at least it's something that's approaching significance. And so if I were to do a multiple regression where I'm going to throw in more than one variable, I would definitely think about including this variable and maybe that variable. All right, but right now we're just doing correlation and linear regression. So our next step is going to be to do a scatter plot with hours per week spent working, okay, because we see here that it has a significant relationship with our dependent variable, which is student's current GPA. And we'll do that in the next video.